President Trump responds to Joe Rogan's request to moderate a debate. Over the weekend, podcast host Joe Rogan made an interesting offer to President Trump and Joe Biden. He volunteered to moderate a 4-hour debate between the candidates. The event, he proposed, would be televised but would not include a live audience to comply with COVID regulations. A lot of Americans are on board with it already, including one very important one, President Trump. He responded to a tweet by MMA fighter Tim Kennedy, who wrote out the idea on Twitter, tagging Rogan, Biden, and Trump. It said, "On my podcast with Joe Rogan, he offered to moderate a debate between Joe Biden and real Donald Trump. It would be 4 hours with no live audience, just the two candidates, cameras, and their vision on how to move this country forward. Who wants this?" The president replied simply, "I do." The Biden campaign has yet to respond, but the idea is gaining a lot of support online. We'll see what happens. President Trump attends historic signing of new peace deal. In recent weeks, President Trump has been nominated twice for the Nobel Peace Prize, and on Tuesday, he was part of the historic signing of one of the deals that earned him a nomination. The president was joined by dignitaries of the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain at the White House to sign the peace agreement he helped negotiate. Many former national security advisors and senior Democrats, including those who have endorsed Joe Biden this election cycle, also attended the signing and noted the great achievement of the Trump administration in arranging the deals known as the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords have also been applauded by even Trump's toughest critics, including never-Trumpers like Bret Stephens at the New York Times. He called the Accords a unique achievement of President Donald Trump, who broke with the approaches of previous administrations. The whole event has generated a lot of positive news for Trump, which is crucial as we head into the final 2 months before Election Day. Joe Biden must be squirming. Hall of Fame NFL coach Mike Ditka speaks out on activism in sports. This season, we've seen a record amount of activism in football. Players kneeling for the national anthem, whole teams staying in the locker room to avoid the Star-Spangled Banner altogether, and a new Black national anthem is being played ahead of every NFL game in solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. The NFL's participation in the protest has led to near record low ratings for the league, and many Americans are speaking out, including Hall of Fame NFL coach Mike Ditka. In an interview with Newsmax TV this week, the former Chicago Bears coach said that playing professional football is an incredible privilege that few enjoy, and doubled down on his stance against protest. He told players to go to another country if they don't like the United States. The coach said, "Football's football. It's not a complicated thing. You are playing the game. You're enjoying the game. You don't like the game? Get out of it. You're privileged. You've got a gift from God that you can play the game because you've got a body that you can do it with. I don't really understand what you're protesting. I played the game. I coached the game for a long time. It makes no sense to me." Ditka echoed the opinions of many Americans when he said that he would tell players to go to another country and play football there. While leftists on Twitter are not too happy with Mike's comments, football fans are applauding his no-nonsense attitude. It's a way of thinking the NFL seems to have left behind. New poll shows how Americans really feel about the Black Lives Matter movement. After months of nationwide protests, violent riots, and nonstop media coverage, most Americans have an opinion of Black Lives Matter. In the height of unrest, when the anti-racism and anti-police brutality protests were happening in almost every major American city, support for the efforts hit an all-time high of 67%, according to Pew Research. Now, as the summer has worn on and the demonstrations have grown increasingly violent, support for the movement as a whole dropped by more than 10%. Analysts claim this is due to the inability to separate actions of rioters and looters from those who are truly marching against racism. As racial justice protests have intensified following the shooting of Jacob Blake, public support for the Black Lives Matter movement has declined, the polling authority notes. A majority of U.S. adults, 55%, now express at least some support for the movement, down from 67% in June amid nationwide demonstrations sparked by the death of George Floyd. The share who say they strongly support the movement stands at 29%, down from 38% 3 months ago. The same Pew poll notes that almost half of likely voters acknowledge the recent demonstrations as riots, not protests, which indicates negative feelings. It's clear that the sentiment towards the movement continues to shift the longer the public demonstrations continue. With an election fast approaching, many are concerned with how it could affect the political outcome in November.